Hi guys, so part two of running Playcentre. I'm going to just cover what it actually looks like in practice. So what I want to do is start off with what you see on a day-to-day basis and then build up to what you're not seeing behind the scenes. Keeping in mind our overarching thing is we are a charity. So we are a registered charity. Otumoetai Playcentre used to be registered just as our own charity, but now we are registered as part of a group for the national Playcentre body. So keeping in mind there is a network of play centres across the country, and some are part of the national body and some are still integrating to be part of the national body, and some have said they want to be separate. That doesn't necessarily affect our running on the day-to-day basis, so don't be too concerned about that. This is meant to be our intro for those people who are new to Playcentre. So if you want to learn more about the trustee board, the two houses of Playcentre at the federation level, this video is not going to go into that. That is something that you can have a conversation with later on. That's reasonably high level and doesn't necessarily always affect us on a day-to-day basis. It is important. I don't want to take that away, but I'm just going to cover more the bits that you'll see as a good intro to Playcentre. So the first part is the teams. So whether you come 1 day or 3 days a week, you will be on a member of only one team. So what does being on a team mean? Well, the team nominate a team leader who could change every term, or a team leader might want to do it for a few terms in a row. Basically, the team leader makes sure stuff gets done every session, whether it's the hazard check, the fire drill, making sure the laundry gets taken home or the vacuuming gets done, whatever it is, the team leader is just making sure it gets done. They're not necessarily doing it, they're just making sure things get done. So on a daily basis at Playcentre, the teams will make sure, so from the time we walk in the door, they're making sure that the hazard checks get done, that everything gets set up, that there's areas of play for the children to play with, that any drills or necessary activities take place, through to the cleanup and end of session evaluation. Now, other families who are not on the team can still help with all those things, but they don't have to if they need to duck away or anything like that, although we do ask you help clean up for a little bit before you leave. So one of the biggest parts about being on a team is doing the end of session evaluation and planning. So this sounds like a big deal, but in fact it's about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of every session where we sit down, we have a chat about what worked on session today, what didn't, what we want to, if there's any learning that we want to document, use of te reo and tikanga, any self-review topics that get discussed, what actually learning did we see from the children, and how we want to take that and plan for the following week or the following all the rest of the term. Depends on what it is the kids are interested in. So that happens at the end of every session. It sounds really like a big deal, but it's not, and it comes quite naturally. And you'll have people in your session who are really experienced with the early childhood curriculum who'll be able to take the observation of what we saw the children doing and actually transport that into how does that link to the curriculum. So for example, if someone says to you, what were the children interested in today? You can just have a think about, well, I saw loads of kids at the Play-Doh table. They were there for ages, and I think that was because we did 3 different colour Play-Dohs with tempura powder inside, and they were mixing it, and so then you're just talking about what was going on. It's not necessarily, there's not a test or a right or wrong answer here. It's just a discussion about what we saw the children being interested in. So what happens with that information? Well, you use it for planning for next week. So you think, okay, well, the kids really liked the Play-Doh and mixing it with the tempura. Is there another way that we can incorporate something different with the Play-Doh next week? Is there another way we can set it up at a different location? Just thinking outside the box. So it's just useful planning information. This also gets picked up at the end of term. So at the end of every term, you have an end of term cleanup. So you'll be told which area it is. Each team does a different area. So just remembering that if you come on multiple days, you just do it once on your team day, the cleanup. At that time, a lot of teams also get together and discuss the planning for the coming term. So what that might look like is parents saying things that the kids are interested in at home, skills that they're trying to work on, whether it's learning to use some scissors or leaving mum alone for 5 minutes so she can go to the toilet without being interrupted. Whatever it is, discuss those things to help support each other as well as develop the kids' interests. I think that's the primary things that the teams do. There's lots of little bits and nuances that you'll pick up on while you're on session, but knowing that the team is responsible for identifying hazards right through to the planning and cleanup at the end of session. Behind their teams sit a whole bunch of office holder roles. So you'll know a lot of people in teams will also have an office holder role as well. Now we're really lucky at our centre. We have a reasonably big centre. We have over 40 families at the moment, and with over 40 families, if every family just did a little office holder role or a part of a team, then no one would have to do too much and things would just hum along nicely. I've seen centres where there's 9 families trying to do everything. And it's a big ask because they still have the same requirements from the Ministry of Education as we do. So in terms of office holder roles, there's a few different levels of them. So as a charity, we must have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. So those 3 roles must be filled for the Charities Commission, basically. Beyond that, for the Playcentre body, they would also ask that you have a health and safety officer, that you will also have a property officer, someone for diverse abilities, bicultural. There's a few of them. I can't list them all off the top of my head, but there's a few roles that they would say are also key. And then next step down is we have a few extra roles, so things like a Facebook administrator, space liaison officer, there's quite a few. They're not the ones that are required by Hub to have, but we see them as being really important things still nonetheless, and it's great to have someone who we know who's going to take care of that area. Now, in the session folder box, there is also this blue folder that has all the job descriptions in it, and they've all been relatively recently updated. So it has all the roles and all the job descriptions. So look at them all. There's like hundreds of them. Not really. There's a lot though. But the idea is that if everyone did a little part, then the centre would just hum along. And there's a real variety of roles, from those ones that are really concrete, like say being treasurer, you know exactly what needs to be done. It's in pretty black and white, through to something that's going to change potentially quite frequently, like a bicultural officer, where it's not a fixed job and it's kind of how much you want to take on and where the centre is at any given time. So there's a real range of different jobs. Some of them have more time commitment than others. So it's if you don't think you have a lot of time to commit, then maybe you could ask that joining a team with someone else. That's always a really great way to do it. And also looking at a job that maybe doesn't have so many fixed requirements to it, because with a fixed requirements jobs, you're going to have spend a certain amount of time on it. So sitting behind our office holders then, we also have some paid staff. So we have a centre administrator who comes in every fortnight, who processes all of our enrolment information and our session sign-in sheets to basically send off to the Ministry of Education to get our funding. So that's where we get our money from to operate. Next step after that, we also have a centre support worker. Sorry to change names. Centre support worker who comes and helps make sure that we are fulfilling all of our Ministry of Education requirements. As well, we also have cleaners, we have a lawn mowing person, we also have on-session support at the moment on a Thursday, and hopefully we can get some more people to do more days, and they just help assist with the running of session. So that's our centre staff. And then the next level is that we have our hub, who is based in Hamilton, and there's a few regional hubs around the country. They cover huge geographical areas. So this one kind of covers from just south of Auckland, all of Coromandel, Bay of Plenty, right down to Gisborne. So it's a massive area that it covers. But they kind of just support us with extra property. They organise the workshops for the adult education. Any kind of, questions that we can't get answered, we can always ask the hub. They're there to provide that support. The hubs all in turn report through to the Federation. Now that's got a general manager, a finance person, HR, those kinds of roles you'd expect to be in a larger organisation. Now they are concerned with operations of Playcentre. Now I mentioned at the start about trustee board. They're kind of looking at their overall philosophy, use some of that strategic direction around Playcentre, whereas our the employees at Federation are more concerned about that kind of operational aspects of it. So I'm hoping that's kind of covered some of how Playcentre runs and kind of how all the different aspects fit together. On session, what does it mean for you? Teams run the session. But in saying that, if you come on a different day, you can still have your input as well. There's nothing to stop you. It's just that we ask the teams to kind of step up and take that responsibility on those days. I think that's it. If you have any questions, just email me about these or just ask someone on session, because it's not, I could go on and on about this for an hour. But I'm hoping this kind of covers off the key points. I'm looking at my notes, thinking it has. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask them on Facebook, ask someone on session, or give me an email. Thanks, guys.